All right, so welcome. Tonight we're going to be doing the Book of Activity again. We're in chapter 1, and we're going to be starting with verse 18. So this is going to be a really interesting class, and you'll see why in just a couple of seconds. Verse 18, give unto thy wife words of praise, so that she may fulfill her place with thee, and thus give her completeness in the eyes of the Creator. Give unto thy wife words of praise, so that she may fulfill her place with thee, and thus give her completeness in the eyes of the Creator. So how does that strike you? Obviously talking to a man, to men.
Mm-hmm.
So first impressions, what do you think?
That a woman is dependent on a man to get close to God.
That's one way to read it, isn't it?
Could you read it again, please, Michael?
Sure. Give unto thy wife words of praise, so that she may fulfill her place with thee, and thus give her completeness in the eyes of the Creator. I say unto you, man and wife, look ye both to the Creator, and you will see truly one another, and thy days will be long and full of joyousness, whether thy work be hard or thy burden light. I say unto you, man and wife, look ye both to the Creator, and you will see truly one another, and thy days will be long and full of joyousness, whether thy work be hard or thy burden light.
For me, that helps, because the first line that you read did sound a lot like it was, except for the male praising the woman at the beginning, that it was setting the woman up to be, the perfect companion instead of being, a strong woman. That second phrase brings it all around to, we're a couple, damn it. We need to work together and honor each other and honor each other's strengths.
Yeah. Yeah, so the way I see this is it's kind of a positive statement. If I reword it, say, so what's the opposite of praise?
Scorn.
Yeah?
Criticism, yeah.
Criticism. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, I was something came to mind tonight. So if two guys are sitting having lunch, and one guy says, my wife I just don't find her attractive anymore. And the first guy says, hey, what are you, gay? That's the kind of thing one man would say to another in jest, right? And the other guy might say, oh, screw you, but they both laugh. But if man and wife are husband and wife are sitting on the sofa watching TV, and he takes her hand and says, you want to play around tonight? And she says, no, honey, I really don't feel like it tonight. And he says, what are you, lesbian? That's like the biggest that would be a hole too big to dig out of, right? You would never outlive that one. That one, you would take that to your grave. Two guys, not a problem. We joke like that all the time. So what this shows to me is that the women, they have the most important job on the planet, because they bring forth new life.
Right.
Everything centers around that. Everything. Civilization, societies, large and small. It should center around that. Let's put it that way. Women and children form the inner circle of a society, and all the concentric rings around that are built to protect them. Now, one of the things that about our modern civilization is that due to technology, it's flattened the field to a great extent for men and women because technology allows, women to fly fighter jets,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Um, but still, women have certain natural liabilities or vulnerabilities, I should say, because especially when a woman is pregnant, she needs protection. If in any kind of a dicey situation comes up, she's not equipped. And if she's got a baby on her hip, taking and little kids all around her, she really needs a support system. There's just so much that she can do. And the way our bodies are built, women on personality, on a temperament scale, women are way more attuned or prone toward negative emotion. They worry more, they're more attentive to threat, they're risk averse. And these are not my ideas. This is in the psychological literature, really well researched and accepted. And why? Why would a woman be risk averse and more subject to negative emotion? She has to be, because she has to be attuned to not only herself, but to the infant and the small children around her. She has to spot threats way ahead of the curve. She has to be very tuned in to what's going on. You see the statue of the Madonna holding the baby Jesus, and she's got him in her arms, and then she's got her foot on a snake. She is protecting him. Women protect infants from predators. So anything that arises as a threat is going to trigger that predator threat assessment part of the nervous system. So she's way sensitive, way more sensitive to danger and to threat. This is the biological baseline. So men, on the other hand, we run toward the threat. I remember one night I was living in Redwood City. It was late, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and a couple of gunshots went off. It was me and two or three other guys from the neighborhood. We all ran outside to see what was going on. We wanted to know what was going on. We wanted to assess the threat, and then take whatever action might be needed, whether it's to call the police or whatever. And because of our provider role, because if we have to kind of look at this outside of current modern day circumstances, because we have cars, we have grocery stores, we have more luxury things in our lives than human race has ever known. And that's only been within the past, 150 years, maybe? And so looking at the way we're built, we're not built for this environment as much as we are built for like a pre-industrial environment. And so if you have a home and a wife and children, she has to protect that home. She has to control that. The men would go out on hunting forays and confront wild beasts. So men cannot be risk averse. We have to, what activates our circuitry is a challenge. And usually if there's danger involved, that makes it even more interesting. That's just the way we're wired, because we have to be. If there's a threat to the village or the town, like if there's a war party coming in, we are the ones who have to go out and meet that threat, and we have to meet it with extreme prejudice. We have to be geared up. We have to be ready to go and willing to dive into the battle, right? So we're geared, we're wired the opposite of women. And this makes life living together really interesting. Because if we don't know that, then we're going to misunderstand each other until the cows come home. Now, unfortunately, there's an ideology afoot, and it's been afoot for what, 70 years now, that men and women are the same. They're the same in every way. And we're not. We're fundamentally biologically different in ways that go way beyond the sex organs. We're different hormonally, we're different neurologically, we're very, very different neurologically. And so we complement each other. Because if everyone was risk averse and hyper vigilant all the time, nothing would ever get done. And if everybody was taking risks all the time, then that wouldn't work either. But we work well together, especially the way a woman's nervous system is set up. She's very, very good with an infant, because infants, especially like in the first 6 months, if they cry, there is no arguing with them. They have a need, and that need must be met. It's non-negotiable. And so a woman's nervous system, it's almost as though women are wired for two. Men are wired for one. We're really good at cooperative enterprises. We work really well together. That's what makes us the dominant species on the planet, according to evolutionary biologists. Now, I'm not getting, none of this is my own idea. I'm getting all of this from the experts in their field. So when this says, give unto your wife words of praise, it's also saying, don't criticize her. Because just like the joke I told earlier, she doesn't take it well, even if it's in jest. And the reason, it's not because she's, overly sensitive. No, she has to be. She has to be sensitive, because that's part of that most important job in the world, which is motherhood. And it doesn't really even matter if there, if there are some women who never have children, that's fine. But the core, what a woman is built for, is to have children and to raise them successfully. So even if, even when we have some women who choose not to have children and choose to, to go into the sciences or a career of some sort, that's fine, as long as everybody realizes and knows and supports that inner circle, which is women and children. Because if we don't, then really weird things start to happen. And they're happening now. One of the weird things that happens is the birth rate starts to drop. We are now below replacement level. And if you do the math, it's going to be 2-3 generations where that's going to become a very serious problem if that trend continues. Because we'll just age out. And there are some experts in geopolitics and demographers who have pointed out that some countries are already beyond the tipping point. Like China, for instance. China's in serious trouble, demographically speaking, because what that means is they're going to have more old people than young people, and it has devastating consequences because it's in the I think the 35, 40, 55 year bracket. Those are all the people who spend the most money because they're raising a family. You take them out of the picture, the economy crashes. It doesn't just slow down, it crashes because nobody's buying anything. The whole economy is built to, it needs that family phase, that family building phase in order to survive. That's how economies stay afloat. You take that out, they crash. So this drop in the birth rate, and it's not so bad here in the United States, but like in Europe, it's really bad. So these are the kinds of things that we have to take into consideration. I mean, I see all of this kind of packed in this one verse. Don't criticize. Be aware. Be cognizant of the difference in temperament, the difference in sensibility, the difference in sensitivity. And then it's good for, in the next verse where it says, man and wife, look ye both to the Creator, and you will truly see one another. And what that, to me, that simply says, look, we were created differently. We were created to be different. We were created in a dynamic of mutual dependency, because all men, that's not going to work. All women, it's not going to work. In one generation, you're done. So we're created different. You know, in Genesis, it said God created man, male and female created he them. So we were made as a mutually dependent couple. We work really well together if we understand each other. And if we understand, and just simply knowing that we're different makes that a whole lot easier. Because if we start thinking that we're the same, that we like the same things, that we, want the same things, all of that, that's the beginning of sorrows. That will ruin any relationship. So if we understand the Creator and that we're created differently, then that's half the battle. Then we have to figure out how to be with each other. Yeah, right. All right, so what do you think?
I listened to your podcast the other day. You and Susan, the podcast that you had about marriage and relationship and commitment, and of course I tend to be introspective when I'm listening, or I have listened or looked into something. I'm very introspective and look at my own, and I can recall taking those vows very seriously. And we talked about taking those vows seriously when we took those vows.
Your marriage vows?
My marriage vows.
Yeah. And you were married in the order?
No. We were married in the Catholic church up the street here. Mm-hmm. And it was very intense and real presence.
Oh, yeah.
Because we were asking Jesus, make your abode with us. And I can remember when we got back home, we both took a deep breath when we came back into the apartment, and we asked our Holy Father and our Lord Jesus, bless our home now and forever. And you be the boss. You be in charge.
Nice.
It was, and not that we didn't have any ups and downs over the years. My goodness, yes. We had 4 children, but that always hung true, and we prayed together, and we gave thanks at the end of the day, and there were a lot of disciplines that were involved in keeping that in mind.
Yes, right.
And it is the woman's responsibility to have the home be a haven, because listen, your husband's going out there in the world and working, and even if you work, we always were like 2 ships passing in the night. When we needed a new car, I went back to work and took a different shift so that no one else was responsible for our children, that we took those responsibilities very strongly too.
Right.
And it was difficult, but that home is your haven. And especially the husband goes out and he's working with all these guys and, blah, blah, blah. And when he would come home, I always said, just go take 15, 20 minutes, shower, do whatever internal work you have to do. And he was a great dad. He's been a great dad. And I think those disciplines had a lot to do with it.
Yes. Yeah,
a lot.
Certainly.
He had that time when he came home to not bring the shit into the house.
Right.
And I remember hearing a story one time that somebody told of their husband would stop at the tree outside the house and say a prayer at the tree and do this and throw everything of the day onto the tree.
Poor tree.
And then but let go of everything.
That's really wonderful. That's really a wonderful ritual.
And that's what, in watching your podcast, those are the things that came to mind. And I'm very thankful for that guidance, for those things, because it didn't come just from me or him. It was from on high. Make your abode with us.
Most men, and this, again, not my idea, most men desire more than anything else when it comes to the home, they desire peace.
Mm-hmm.
If that peace is disturbed, that's about as hellish as it gets.
Mm-hmm. Not that it never got disturbed.
Oh,
it
yeah,
happens.
Of course.
It's life. But I always came back to that.
Yeah, there was a Hindu master teacher named Father Subramanya, and he was a traditional Hindu. He was American Hindu, but he was traditional Orthodox. And he would counsel his householder students, the men, never to talk about business in the home. He said, leave that at the door. Because if he brings that into the house, it disrupts that harmony, that peaceful environment that the wife has worked so hard to cultivate for the sake of the children and for her husband. That's her creation, is that domicile, right? The abode a place to be and to be at peace. But if he brings in, if he, like, you know, your husband, if he brings work into the house, it just throws the whole thing off.
Well, we talked about work, but it was always after the children were in bed. If we had things to discuss of the day that transpired, the children were in bed.
Good choice. You know, in the order's marriage ceremony,
Mm-hmm.
each grants spiritual freedom to the other. Yeah, and there's also the other problem where you have people, as we grow, we change and we seek different things, and sometimes one person in a marriage will kind of spiritually outgrow the other.
Mm-hmm.
But and a lot of people think that that's grounds for divorce because it's just simply incompatible. But I don't think so. I think if all those other components are in place, the mutual respect will carry that through.
Mm-hmm. It comes around.
Right, right.
Mm.
Now I have seen it where, you know, if it's usually the woman, but not always, sometimes the man too. If they start going through initiations and literally the vibratory quality of their energy field gets higher than the other person can tolerate. I've seen that happen. But it's like both people are responsible for their own spiritual growth. And if both people are addressing their spiritual growth, then that difference should never get too great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because it does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah.
I can honestly say it's happened with us.
Yeah.
You know, where, you know, he's moving through this and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
And vice versa. But the respect of knowing that God's in charge here.
Right. Yeah. So throughout the whole relationship, then honesty and open-mindedness and truth telling, that has to be sacred.
And you have to trust each other. Yes. Trust is a big,
it's huge, right?
huge.
Yeah, I know all of this really well because I failed at it. And nothing will drive a lesson home farther, deeper than failing the test. So I've had to really discover why all of that happened, and you know, what didn't we do right? You know, where did we miss? But if in the beginning, if our culture was well versed in the reality of the difference between the sexes, that would make everything so much easier, because then men and women would have their separate domains, and that would be okay. We wouldn't make that wrong. And I know the arguments about it too, you know, that men have the monopoly on power. But I've known lots of women who were put into positions of power and they didn't like it. It did, you know, I remember one of the master teachers in the Holy Order of Mans, when it turned Orthodox, when it went into Orthodoxy, she was the first woman master teacher in the order, and women master teachers worldwide are very rare. But when they went into Orthodoxy, they had to give up their priesthood and like with her status as a master teacher. And people asked her, "How could you do that?" And I'll never forget what she said. She said, "I got tired of being a man." because women and men have different authority modes. We express our authority differently. It's not that one has more authority over the other, but we express it differently. And when you're in a corporate position or, something that is high stress, especially, that kills anybody. That kills men. That puts men in their graves early.
I didn't have the stamina that my husband had for that.
Right.
That being in the corporate administrative challenge. I did it for many years. Once my children were older and I went back to work, I did have a career and I was in charge and administrative, but whew,
it's brutal.
It was brutal.
Yeah. Your stamina is greater than a man's stamina, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm. I could be with the kids all day long, every day.
Yeah.
And
most men can't.
Not have a stress level. Right.
Right.
Although you may have to try that. My husband, because of circumstances, his company went on strike. And so he had to be home, and they were on strike for like 18 months. And he stayed home with the kids, and I had a part-time job in the evenings that I made a full-time job in the daytime during that time so we could eat.
Yeah. How did he handle the kids?
He did really well.
Oh, good.
I had boys. So
okay.
That was the two oldest boys.
How old were they?
Time. 3 or 4 and 1.
Wow. Okay. Very young.
Hanging the diapers. I mean, he did everything in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Well, his mother trained him well. I give tremendous support to my mother-in-law. I can't praise her enough. She taught her boys how to change diapers, how to clean, how to cook.
Yep.
And I did the same with my boys because of her. Because I didn't want any woman coming to me and saying, oh, poor Sean or poor Mark. They just don't know how to, they know how to cook or,
right.
They know how to do the dishes or change a diaper.
Yeah,
not
that's good. Yeah, not going to happen. That's right.
Because my mother-in-law taught her 4 sons how to do essential things in the house. So the burden wasn't always on the woman.
Right. Yeah, because how is he going to support her if he can't? Right? I mean, that's no kind of support. If he doesn't, if he can't or won't do the cook dinner, that attitude, well, I'm a man, so I don't do woman's work. That's a very low level of understanding of what we're talking about here.
That's a woman's job, or that's a man's job.
Right. So we help each other and we work together really well. But in my opinion, where most of the problems come about is when we start thinking that we're the same in all respects. We're just not. So it says, give unto thy wife words of praise. And that's like, don't, I mean, everybody knows what words of praise feel like. When somebody tells us we're doing a good job, that is really wonderful. And we all know what it's like to be criticized. So, and for men, because we're geared toward, and in culture, it's more than culture. It really is more biological. we're geared to work together in groups, and and groups are always hierarchical because there has to be a leader to a group. Otherwise, the group, it has no boundary, no structure, and it'll dissipate. It'll fall apart. So we know how to take criticism, and it doesn't get to us very much. I mean, everybody's got pride, sure, but by and large, we're kind of trained to take criticism, and we actually like it because we want to get better at what we're doing. And so if a man is balanced and healthy psychologically and emotionally, he's going to welcome criticism, up to a point. It has to be valid and well delivered. But by and large, we welcome criticism because we want to excel at what we do. Again, we want the challenge of perfecting our craft, perfecting our vocation, whatever it is we're up to. We want to be good at it because that's where we derive our status, through competency. So I'm not married now. I'm not in a romantic relationship, but I'm rather fond of my van.
My husband had a boat like that.
So when I get in my van, I'll talk to it and I say, "You're the best van. I love you. You always work. I take good care of you and you take good care of me." And I just have all this positive emotion. And this reminds me, I have a daughter and one grandson. And my daughter ideologically is like slightly left of Vladimir Lenin. And so she was teaching her son that the reason why men name their boats in they give their boats a woman's name. They give, usually if you name a car, you name a boat, you name an airplane, it's usually a woman's name. And she said that's because she was teaching her son, that's because men want to dominate women. They want to own women. They want to control women. So they put that on this thing so they can control it. And it really astonished me. I have to say, astonished me.
It could be respecting.
Well, I caught him and I said, no, that's not why. They give the boat a woman's name because they love the boat. They're pouring their life into the boat. They take care of the boat. They love the boat. That's why they give it a woman's name. And he actually got it. It really kind of set him back on his heels. It's like, oh, it was like a whole new aspect of the world opened up to him when I said that. Look at how a man takes care of a car. If he has a really nice car that he loves, look how much time and attention and care he puts into that car.
And usually calls the car she.
Yeah. But just imagine then if he paid that much attention to his wife. Not that you can't have both, but you get the point.